You guys have something to say for yourselves?
Mr. Mayor, could you wake me up when this is over?
God, I don't even know what to say. Jesus. Let's bow your head, close your eyes. God, we thank you for allowing us to gather here tonight. We ask that you bless our hearts and our minds and lead us in the right direction. Give us stable ground to lead the city on, Lord God, and we just ask for covering in a blanket of all of our citizens and all involved in efforts to make our city a better place. Amen.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Here.
Alderman Tierney? I don't know. Alderman Payoung?
Here.
Alderman Kendall Charles?
Here.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
Present.
Alderman Rodriguez?
Here.
Alderman Gay?
Here.
Alderman Savage?
Present.
Alderman Arnett?
Well, we'd like to hear from our constituents.
They probably root for Army every year.
Them's fighting words, Fred.
I think those are fighting words.
Before we start, I notice a small admission in front of Alderman Gay's desk. So, Elaine, if you could please assist Alderman Gay in correcting this.
Yes. I gave him one Thursday night.
No, go on. Use the paper clip. Yeah, you don't want to cover it. Covering up the door. This is the proper display.
21 tugs and many beers ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and inebriation, and dedicated to the sole proposition that the citizenry of Eastport are a little different than our Annapolis and U.S. reformist counterparts, and worthy of being lauded and celebrated. Although many doubted a nation so illegitimately conceived and so dedicated to simply having fun could long endure, we are here as living proof of our success, and have more than a few hangovers to show for it, as well as an impressive record of contributions to local charities and possibly hazy memories. Thus, it is with the same MRE passion and veracity and a touch of audacity of our infamous secession that I, Jessica Louise Packler, the 2019 Minister of War, my address is 506 President Street. You need that for the records. By the power vested in me by the Maritime Republic of Eastport and by unanimous vote of the Revolutionary Council, do hereby declare tug of war against the United States, Maryland, the city of Annapolis, and all who remain loyal to them. We, the MRE, up the Republic! respectfully demand that the City of Annapolis unconditionally surrender its land, chattels, and vast libation stores to the Maritime Republic of Eastport. We know you have lots, Gavin. We want them. If you do not, we will be forced to call ye and your citizenry to the shores of the Gulf of Eastport, formerly known as the Annapolis Harbor, for a battle of brute force and extreme effort using a 1,700-foot rope graciously donated by Yale Cordage in one of mankind's oldest tests of strength, a tug of war. The 22nd annual contest of wills and sheer force will begin promptly at the crack of noon on Saturday, November 2nd, 2019, at the Avenue of Our Glorious Victory, you may call it 2nd Street, on the Eastport side, and Susan B. Campbell Park on the Westport side, AK Annapolis. We expect to see you all there for the good of your and our nation, including the magnificent Maritime Republic of Eastport. Up the Republic! Being a wealthy, generous, and benevolent micronation will, regardless of who wins this test of strength, donate the spoils of the Tug and Tugfest to local charities including Civil Air Patrol, Eastport Elementary, Seeds for Success, the Burning House, Annapolis Elementary, and the Eastport Volunteer Fire Company. Our many thanks to the City of Annapolis and the City Council for allowing us time and lending us support. Long live the Republic! Up the Republic!
Who won last year?
Our livers.
Don't live in the past.
Up the Republic!
Ward 7's under attack.
Can Ward 7 join?
You're 2-1-4-3. You're good.
Navy's not going to like that.
Alderman Pan?
Mr. Mayor, we don't intend to give up one drop of alcohol, one drink, or one bar to these rowdies from across the water.
We have our own.
It's okay. Ours are better anyway.
We'll see you on the battlefield.
Do you accept our war challenge? Excellent. Up the Republic!
I wasn't here last year.
Yeah.
Bah, scallywags.
We can't keep living like this. The City Attorney, please present the first item on the agenda.
The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
At this time, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Oh, sorry, Alderman.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to amend the agenda to reschedule the quarterly report of the Audit Committee to our next meeting, the 28th of October. I was under the misimpression that it had already been pulled and set for that time. Don't know whose mistake it was, but at any rate, we're not ready to go on that, and I'd like to give it next time.
Okay, so it's a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye. I'll have a lot more information in 2 weeks.
Okay. Good. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is ceremonial items, beginning with the 4th Annual Chief Charles H. Steele Safety Award.
Chief Romali, please come forward.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Doug Grimali. I'm Fire Chief here in the City of Annapolis. With me is Deputy Chief Carol Spriggs, and I get the distinct privilege of giving out the Charles H. Steele Public Safety Award tonight. This award was established in 2015 in cooperation with the Fire Department and the City Council Public Safety Committee. And the award is one person's, well, several people can be nominated. One person is given the award every year. It's in memory of current retired Fire Chief Charles Steele, who was our first career fire chief in the City of Annapolis from 1964 to 1987. Chief Steele laid the foundation for our department as it is today, and we've continued to expand upon that. So it's really a privilege to have an award in his name. So a member of the department is nominated. This could be a civilian member or a uniformed member of our department for some sort of outstanding work they've done throughout the year. It could be a heroic award. It could be a leadership award, or it could be involved in establishing a program in the City of Annapolis that reflects the core values of our department. And with that, this year it's such that this firefighter paramedic that's here tonight thinks he's here to explain the program to you. We'll let him talk about it a little bit if he likes. But if I could get firefighter paramedic Barnett to come forward. So I'll read you his nomination. The nomination came from Deputy Chief Spriggs. I'd like to formally nominate firefighter Christopher Barnett for the Chief Charles H. Steele Public Safety Award. While assigned to the Office of Emergency Management, firefighter Barnett is continuing college programs, and he does an internship with the Office of Emergency Management on his days off. So he likes to stay busy between going to college, doing his internship, and working for us full time. So while they're on his internship, he set forth a program within the fire department to move forward, and that was a Life in the Bag program. This program is not very sophisticated. It really isn't. But he is a paramedic. Like many of our EMTs and paramedics have found that there's several times they go out on an incident scene where they get there and the individual that needs treatment can't talk to the person, can't talk to you, can't explain what's going on. And this program helps our medics and firefighters understand or get history of the patient and their medications. We partnered with the Annapolis Professional Firefighters Local 1926. So between the City of Annapolis and the local, we established this program. The union president's coming in now. I'll ask him to come forward. And basically it's 2 stickers, and it's a history statement in a bag that's in the residence that these people live in. They place the sticker on their door. They place the sticker on where the bag's located. And this bag has history, which is medical history, medications for the patient, and that helps our paramedics treat the patients. So it's a very simple program, but it's very effective. And what I can tell you is that we have at least 2 people that have come to us and told us that this program has actually helped them. We've had paramedics go to the scene. We had an unresponsive patient. They noticed a sticker on the door. They were able to go right inside, get the patient's history, realize they were diabetic. The patient was conscious and alert by the time they left the scene. So that's just one example of how this works. It's my understanding that we've given out over 450 bags. They've had several public education programs. We have these bags in every station and in the fire department headquarters, and you can go online and get the information for it. So he continues to move it forward, but like I said, there's not a whole lot to it. It's a couple stickers. It's a history of the patient. It's located in the house, and it makes a difference for us. So it's my distinct pleasure, it's our distinct pleasure, to establish the Public Safety Award to Christopher M. Barnett for his outstanding commitment to improving public safety for the citizens of Annapolis, September 2019. We'll give him his chance.
I can't believe how hard you work. The city thanks you so much for what you do for this city, all the improvements you're taking. We love our first responders. You have made us proud. I'm proud to be your mayor. I'm looking forward to sitting out front here getting a picture with you. So congratulations. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
thank you so very much, and we're always looking for very innovative ways to assist our residents and our citizens in the city of Annapolis, and this is definitely one of them. And speaking for the Budget Committee, it costs very little to save a life. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
So thank you so much for the award, everyone. I really do appreciate that so much. And also, you know, everything's pretty much been said for the program itself already, but it saves people's lives. It saves us time. It saves the city money and us getting out there and doing what we can do for, you know, each and every citizen. So also, this is a big step, because the more and more we focus on public health and community health, you know, the more, you know, the less sick people we have, and the more people we can save. So thank you so much again.
Thank you.
City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is petitions, report, and communications, beginning with the update from the mayor.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Immediately after last week's meeting, City Manager Teresa Sutherland and I, along with our resiliency consultants Dan Neese and Joan Thoreau, took a 3-day trip to Rhode Island to meet with elected officials, city planners, resiliency specialists, and state and federal government agency representatives. Our goal was to see how communities and municipalities in the Narragansett Bay watershed are dealing with many of the same issues that we face. As we learned this past weekend, with the coastal flooding all around the mid-Atlantic and here at the city dock caused by Tropical Storm Melissa and the full moon, it's a good thing that we are thinking about ways to cope with more severe and more intense tidal and coastal flooding. We learned from the folks in Rhode Island that we have to be ready for that catastrophic storm that may come our way. We have to be prepared in order to help our residents successfully bounce back. For our counterparts, they wanted to know about stormwater fees and the remediation projects we are able to afford because of those dedicated income funds. On our end, we were able to visit projects and see plans on a number of resiliency initiatives. Do we know where to go to access county, state, and federal funding should we need it? Do we have plans in place so that we don't face delays after a catastrophic event? These are important issues. I'm so pleased right now that we have our City Dock Action Group working on many of these issues, and we are working towards a financing mechanism to tie these very important component pieces together to move our city into a robust and resilient future. My thanks to our counterparts in Newport. We've invited them here for another set of meetings. I'll keep council and other elected officials and the city county planners informed so that we can all participate in the next steps. Annapolis Police Chief Edward Jackson wants me to remind you of the promotional ceremony for officers to be held on October 21 in council chambers. That is at 7 p.m. We hope to see you there. Firehouse Subs Safety Foundation donated 2 bulletproof vests to the APD, valued at more than $4,000. We thank them for their generosity. He also reported that last Wednesday, Annapolis police arrested and charged 2 men found with guns and what were suspected illicit drugs. Annapolis Fire Chief Doug Romali, who has just left us, added that the Taylor Avenue Fire Station helped with a flag ceremony on Friday. This was the Ground Zero flag tribute. They were joined by the Naval District Washington Naval Academy Fire Department, Annapolis Police, Maryland Capitol Police, and Maryland State Police. For 18 years, the Ground Zero flag has travelled from location to location with flags, with this flag that was flown at Ground Zero after the attack of 9/11. It is a reminder of the brave men and women who sacrificed for public safety and in our United States Armed Forces. Thank you to the Ground Zero flag team for bringing this flag to Annapolis and allowing our city to be part of that remembrance ceremony. Speaking of the fire department, in City Hall downstairs there's a photo exhibit organised by Art in Public Places Commission in recognition of Fire Prevention Month. There are historic photos and photos of firefighters and paramedics in action. Please take a look at that on your way out. Charles Moran of Strong Towns gave a presentation at Asbury Methodist Church. It was a full house. He spoke to many of the issues that the City of Annapolis is confronting. He advised us to rethink the possibilities, especially as it relates to infill development and amenities we offer to residents. I got a copy of his books, it's Strong Town books. I recommend it for everybody. I'm looking forward to reading more about his work in other cities. Check out his talk on the city's YouTube page. One of the things Morone talked about was the need to make small changes to improve the lives of residents wherever possible. Even before his talk, we began a program to clean up most of our vulnerable neighbourhoods. Members of my staff participated on a clean-up on Clay Street. I joined Neat Streets in Eastport in mid-September. At the end of September, a city crew, including me and Teresa Sutherland, as well as staff from my office, Alderwoman Rhonda Pindell Charles and Sheila Finlayson, went to Newtown Drive to create a punch list of repairs the city would tackle right away. In all, there were 26 items on our list. Of those, 16 are completed. For example, Public Works has restriped the crosswalks, removed metal and wooden signposts that didn't have any signs, removed all the trash in the streets along the sidewalks, fixed a section of sidewalk that was a tripping hazard, painted the curbs, added a piece, addressed the cleanup issue at the bus shelter, and more. Some of the projects that require our partnership with vendors like BG&E are still in the works. We will continue working for everyone on these quality of life issues. We encourage volunteers from the community to come out and help. As we know with Neat Streets projects, it can sometimes take as little as 1 hour with 20 to 30 people to make a tremendous difference in a city block. And I want to just give a round of applause for Neat Streets if we could. I'm Bumper Moya, of course, yeah. Last week, I had the pleasure of visiting 2 expos. The first was the Smart Cities Summit at National Harbour. The other was a fireside chat at the BG&E Innovation Expo in Washington, D.C. I spoke to an audience that included the CEO of Exelon. I was proud to hear that Annapolis is considered a leader among municipalities embracing smart technologies. Generations before mine, the biggest change in their lifetime was twofold: the creation of the interstate highway system, the innovation of television. For my generation, and some of you guys will probably say that was my generation, for my generation and the one immediately after me, it has been to get computers and the information revolution. Attending some of these events has been eye-opening, because our next generation, it seems, that one of the game changers will be the marriage of transit and technology. We have a strong council here who will support that. From our people in economic development, we have a couple of updates. In the August new business report, every new business created in the city was either a minority or a woman-owned business. Also, they are reporting that the city currently has a 4% vacancy for retail and office space. I'm not sure if that's a record low, but it's certainly a good indicator of a robust business environment. I'd like to pass along recognition also for the Lifeline 100 bicycle race, which I participated in with County Executive Stuart Pittman. Thanks to everyone, and if you haven't done it, you should all give it a go. It's awesome. And lastly, the United States Academy celebrated its 174th birthday on October 10th. The United States has celebrated its 244th year on October 13th. The Academy brought me along with members of my team to the Academy for lunch, where we sat among midshipmen and women to talk up our city, so that when their friends and family come to visit, they know all the best places to go. I was pleased to be able to have an intimate lunch with 4,500 students, very intimate with that many people, share a piece of cake with the Commandant of Midshipmen. Thank you for including us on that big day, and let's just say, go Navy! Thank you. And that is it. Now, next thing on the agenda, please.
Next item on the agenda is the city manager required administrative submittals.
Thank you. The August city manager reports have been completed and uploaded to Legistar for your review.
Thank you. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is reports by committees.
Alderman Payan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Audit Committee will be meeting on Monday, October 21st, right here in these chambers at 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll go till about 9:30. We have a number of things on our agenda. I expect to be able to possibly discuss some preliminary findings from a departmental audit. I think we're working on some legislation that I think the council would find of interest, and a number of other things. We're actually pretty busy, even though you're not hearing from me tonight. I apologize again. I don't know whose fault it was. I think there was a misunderstanding. I said no, but apparently I said no to the wrong question. and that's why I don't have the report tonight, but I will have it in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Pindell Charles.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next scheduled meeting for the Public Safety Committee will be held on Monday, November 4th at 6 p.m. in council chambers. Thank you.
Alderwoman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you. The Rules and City Government Committee will meet on Tuesday, November the 12th at 4 o'clock here in council chambers. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is comments by the general public.
Anyone sign up? Thank you. First up is you, Aaron. Come forward, please. Thank you. Still got 5.
Very good. First of all, I want to thank you for the work that you all do. This being my first time that I've spoken at one of these city council meetings, I realize how little pay you get for the amount of hours that you put into this, having been behind the scenes and some of what you do as well. And having run for a public office in the last couple of years myself, I've had some time to ponder why it is that we seek to sit in a seat of public trust. And what I'd like to make a comment today about is I don't think we have a large crowd here on this issue tonight, because I understand that we're likely going to defer a vote on this. But this issue of short-term vacation rentals has been something that's been an issue of quite a bit of debate in my community in particular, because I live a couple blocks from here downtown, and Ward 1 tends to be the most affected, I think, and probably followed very closely by Ward 8, by this short-term vacation rental debate that we were having with each other. And the only, I'm not going to throw statistics at you tonight. I'm not going to throw data. I think you guys have seen a lot of that data up to this point. What I really want to talk about is what our role is as people who sit in city government or aspire to sit in other forms of government. And that is to look out for 2 things. The public trust is about public goods and about looking out for the needs of our constituents. And a lot of times we're very, very lucky when those things line up into one issue on the same side. And when I talk about public goods, in this case, the public good here on this short-term vacation rental issue, for my opinion, is the character of our neighborhoods. And I've heard an emotional debate here in recent months, and it's between people who own short-term vacation rentals and they've monetized this, and this is how they make their living, and they should be grandfathered in because they've owned these things for years. It's kind of how they bet the farm. Senior citizens who bet the farm on how they continue to maintain their existence in this town, and people that have lost all of their neighbors on their street. Right? People like John Askell, who looks around and is left and right, and others who live down on Pickney and East and a few others downtown, where 60-75% of the street is now a short-term vacation rental. And I ask you whether or not, if you lived on that street and all of your neighbors had left, and you look around in the winter and no one is there that you know, and in the summer it's a party every single weekend of people that you don't know, if that's a street that you want to live on. Mr. Mayor, I voted for you. I voted for you on your agenda of wanting to make this city a place where people want to live and want to walk in and be with their neighbors and make a home in. And I'm concerned that this is becoming a discussion about money and about special interest versus the character of our neighborhoods, and I don't even think it should be a discussion in the end. Now, the minutia is for you to work out. The minutia is what's fair, what's balanced here. 120 days, owner-occupied or not, but in the end, what I would ask you to do is consider the character of our neighborhoods as the public trust that you are protecting. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Aaron. Next up, John Wells.
I'm John Wells. I live at 11 Tucker Street in Annapolis. I'm here to inform you about some upcoming events in Anne Arundel County that I urge you to attend and promote the event to your constituents and on your social media pages. According to recent polls, while some 74% of Marylanders say that education is so important to them that they're willing to pay more in taxes to improve it, at the same time, only 23% know that there is an initiative to improve education, and the initiative is called the Maryland Blueprint. We've watched the decline of Maryland education from number 1 in the country to number 6, with over $1 billion a year in shortfalls under a governor who is so opposed to education funding that we had to create a lockbox to make him spend funds earmarked for education. It's time to do something about that. There will be 3 forums in or near the county in October designed to speak entirely to the Maryland Blueprint implementation process. The Blueprint Coalition is sponsoring 2 events, one on Tuesday, October 22nd, up in Glen Burnie, and the other on Tuesday, October 29th, to be announced. I'll be emailing you the information. The Maryland Legislative Coalition is also sponsoring an event in nearby Elkridge on Sunday, October 21st at 1:30 at the Howard County Public Library. The October 21st event features Dr. Kerwin himself, who is a wonderful speaker and the leading expert on the Blueprint. I've also posted statewide forum and funding information at this URL. Again, I'll send you the email, and I have copies here. But if anyone's in the audience wants to take this down, bit.ly/MD Blueprint events, all lowercase. I'm going to be working on the funding side of the issue and welcome any questions or suggestions from the council or anyone here tonight. And I can be reached at 410-507-1862. 410-507-1862. And I am jnw.wells@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Joanna.
Good evening. I'm Joanna Young. I have Evergreen Antiques on Maryland Avenue, 69 Maryland Avenue, and I'm the acting president of the Maryland Avenue and State Circle Merchants Association. And my baby, Do Midnight Madness 2, and I are here to talk a little bit about your plans for the holiday parking changes, which me and my business association are across the board very uncomfortable with. The holidays in downtown Annapolis, as you know, are a destination for a lot of people. Midnight Madness, the free parking is all part of that. It's people sort of celebrating the season as they shop. And it's the reason they choose to shop with us and not online, not at the mall, not at the town center. It's a draw to them and people, and we rely on that. From what we understand, the switch to app-only parking is definitely going to be difficult for people to transition to. We've been experiencing this on Maryland Avenue as many of our meters are currently broken. I see people every day trying to pay with coins, confused because of lack of signage as to why the meters don't work, and then they come into my shop and they ask me, and I say, well, you can download this app. And some of them kind of roll their eyes like, what are you talking about? I don't have a smartphone like that. Some of them try to download the app and they don't have updated systems or something to get the app. I understand there's people that don't have data plans, that that's not an option at all. So those people are left with no option to park on the streets near me. Ellie Tierney has told me to have them call the number for SP Plus. They can receive some free parking time. They also get told different things when they call SP Plus, from half an hour free to an hour to 2 hours. We discussed 2 hours free. So it's just been a source of frustration. And if the red bags with the free holiday parking are not there, the signage to tell people what's going on, and the free parking to welcome them to shop on our streets, there's going to be a lot of people frustrated, turned away, and they're not going to shop with us. And many of us rely on this season for up to a third of our income, or our annual income. It's what keeps us in downtown Annapolis and keeps us open. So I hope you'll consider that. We all feel this way, and thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Savage?
Just wondering if the association has any recommendations or preferences?
Well, for starters, I was wondering if you can simply police the area as you do 2-hour residential parking. I know you have the technology for scanning the license plates, give tickets after 2 hours, and again, signage just to let people know these are broken meters before they sink their money in and then go, what the heck's going on? That would be my recommendation if, in fact, we don't have the money to fix the meters, as I've heard, or you're transitioning to a new model, just to simply let people know what's going on and, yeah, police it as you would a residential street. That's my recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you. Anne, next up. Wider? Yeah, wider? Yeah, this is it.
Hi, my name is Ann Widener, and I have a business on Maryland Avenue for the last, as of September, 32 years. And again, I would like to reiterate what Joanna has said. We are very dependent on the Christmas season to make it through the months of either snow or bad weather or cold, or people are done their shopping. So I think we've been sending out a lot of mixed messages recently with the increase of parking fees at City Dock, and also now not all on the same page in terms of what brings people downtown and what makes them feel welcomed. I served for many, many years, probably 10, on the original parking commission, and then when it was melded together with transportation and parking, also served on that. That, as far as I know, is defunct, and Mayor, you have not reactivated or reappointed. I did send my resume, as was sent by email, but that was the only vehicle the business community had to discuss what decisions were being made that truly affects our business. We hear what people have to say and comments when they often complain or bring in concerns, and we feel that we don't any longer have any set way to express our concerns about what it's like to be there on a daily basis. 7 days a week. I run 2 businesses out of my shop, both design and retail. And I feel like at the end of the day, I don't want to come to City Council and explain why the level of frustration has reached what it has in terms of a disconnect with our City Council and our Mayor's office. I don't know how to put it much clearer than that, But I did email the city manager today asking for an opportunity to meet with her and discuss, because although this is a wonderful public forum, it's not a dialogue forum. It's we get up and speak, and then that's usually where that ends. I would like to have some clearer opportunity to have a regular dialogue from the business community with our city government. I purchased my building in 1995. I paid my $5,500 taxes. I don't get trash pickup. I pay water runoff. I pay more for my my water, which thank goodness we don't shower there. But it seems like I'm in the boat of sort of what happened many years ago. We have taxation without representation. And I couldn't help but notice, Mayor Buckley, that when you were talking about the flooding that unfortunately took place, there was a line of businesses down there. It was, again, discussed about the residents and not the business community. We feel like we are a good fiber and a good basis. Maryland Avenue is all independent business people. No one is coming to back us up with any corporation. We're getting in lots of inventory at this point to be prepared for hopefully a good holiday season. We want to send a welcoming message, and when that gets convoluted as it does in the paper and with the miscommunication, however that happened, it doesn't send a welcoming message to include all of the people who want to come downtown. That's one perspective from a longtime business owner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me.
May I ask a question? And it's more for you, Mr. Mayor. Do you still meet with the businesses on a regular basis?
We have Economic Development have a monthly meeting with all the businesses. But when you connect with Teresa, we'll give you a lot of different other avenues that we're doing constantly.
I'm not sure where that meeting is and how encompassing that is, because I'm not aware of it, Mayor Buckley. And I just met with Eric. Stopped by. We were unpacking Christmas ornaments, and he popped in today, and hence the reason I'm here, because we want to be sure that we're all on the same page. And we're not asking for anything really that dramatic, just a welcoming attitude, not a penalizing attitude to come downtown. I looked over the increase in fines. I think some of them are so valid. Some of them are a little off the charts. But I often feel like we're interested more in gathering revenue than we are having. And we have 6 vacancies, and this is a low amount of vacancies just on Maryland Avenue, which is only a block and a half of retail space. And we've had 1 vacancy probably for almost 10 years. And actually, another resident and I got out and we swept the streets and replanted all the planters last Sunday. Well, that you weren't our inspiration. It was a matter of necessity. But truthfully, we want to send a message that we want people to choose to be in the atmosphere of coming downtown. Not penalized, not threatened. And I think the only way we can do that is to create a vehicle where we can have dialogue so that you know what our day-to-day can be. I think sometimes I feel like the city is very isolated from the general running of a small business.
We are about to start a Love Annapolis, Shop Annapolis program. We'll be rolling out soon, so I'll let you know.
I'd look forward to it, and I hope to meet with Ms. Sutherland and see what we can get set up. And where is that Transportation and Parking Committee that compromised myself as the only business representative, but mostly residential people?
I'm not sure about that one. Alderman Pindell-Charles is next, and then Alderman...
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Widener, I do know that once a month the business leadership group meets with Mr. Stephen Rice, who's our new Economic Development Manager, as well as with Ms. Hope Stewart, who's the small business liaison person, Alderman Arnett, as well as Alderman Tierney, and I generally attend those meetings. There's a representative usually from every community within the city that's there to voice what is going on in their communities, what the challenges may be, and I'm not quite sure. There was a gentleman at one point who used to come to the meetings from Maryland Avenue, but I'm not sure now who the representative is from Maryland Avenue. So you also may want to touch base with that person. Are you familiar with that person?
I think he has since gone out of business, to be honest with you. I think it was
Okay.
John Scherfel, and I'm not aware of that monthly meeting. I would.
It's for the business leaders. I know there's one representative from every business organization around the city that comes. They're the representatives for the businesses as a whole in that area.
Is that here in City Council or
It's
where?
it's in Gorman Street. It's on a Friday from 8:30 to 9:45.
Okay.
But I can't remember what Friday it is.
Okay, I'll go on the website and see if I can get your
Yes, ma'am.
information.
If you leave your email, we will email you the information
Okay.
about it.
Who would I need to
Just,
email
if
that?
you can leave it right here. Okay, thank you.
Alderman Arnett is pulling up on his phone. Second Friday of the month, 8:30 to 9:45.
Yeah, and Hope Stewart will be reaching out to you. Hope Stewart.
Next up, Laura Booth.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
No problem.
sorry.
Would you mind just briefly, yourself or Teresa, going over what changes were made exactly to the parking plan? Because I seen like an article, that's it.
Okay. Teresa?
Give me a chance to look it up because I don't want to talk off from memory and get it wrong. So if you can give me a minute, I'll pull it up.
So we will be posting signs on all the meters. There will be a phone number on those signs as well as the website to go to. So. Alderman Tierney.
Yeah, let me just address the status of the Transportation Board. The last two volunteers have been submitted to the Transportation Committee. They will be approved at the next City Council meeting, so then we'll have a quorum for the Transportation Board and we can start meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
And Teresa, you still pulling that up?
I'm working.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so first of all, let me explain about bagging the meters. When we bagged the meters last year, the meters are solar powered and that's how they communicate with the server. And when we bagged them last year, it made the batteries in the meters die. They couldn't communicate with the server, so there were updates that were pushed out from the server to the meters that they could never receive, and because that was our fault, a bunch of the meters stopped working, and it will cost about $15,000 to fix those broken meters because we bagged them last year. So we are not going to bag them this year. We are putting signs on the meters that talk about the free parking, that give you the code, which is Park DTA. The program will be offered 7 days a week from Thanksgiving all the way through New Year's. It is 3 hours of free parking, and then you may stay for a fourth hour by paying. Normally you can only stay at a meter for 2 hours, so we're going to allow you to stay for 4 hours. If you don't want to use the app, you can call SP Plus, and we've provided that we will provide the phone number. We have provided the phone number. We'll continue to push out the phone number, so you don't have to use the app to get the free parking. Residents, of course, can also park for 2 hours for free in the city garages. And then we also have our Park and Shop program, where you can go into a business, get a ticket to validate your parking in the garage, and get up to 4 hours of free parking in the garage by using the Park and Dine option. And Midnight Madness, we have $5 parking at Knighton and Park Place with the free circulator provided for free.
So my question was just kind of, there are no like drastic
Excuse me.
changes that would have.
He was on the floor.
Okay.
Good.
There are no drastic changes from last year, except for we're not putting bags on it. That's it, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And you have to use the app or call the phone number.
Okay. Thanks.
Alderman Pans next.
Thank you. I'm curious about this business with the bags. To my knowledge, we've been using basically the same bags year after year. Why is there 15? What happened last year that was so different?
I can't answer that. Last year is the first Christmas that I was here.
Well, there must be records. Did we pay $15,000 for repairs?
My understanding is we didn't always have these solar powered meters. It's different than just going up and putting a coin in the meter. They're now solar powered, and when you put the bags over, it kills the meters.
Did anybody look into the possibility of getting clear bags to put over?
We did not, because we're going to put signs on the meters.
Well, don't signs block the sun also?
Not if they're not covering the part where the sun hits the meter and the receptor is.
Well, I don't, it seems like we've so badly complicated what was a very simple process. Why do we have any signs? We just don't write any tickets other than checking the cars for whether they're there for more than 2 hours. I don't get it.
May I bring up Mr. Gordon to answer your questions, please? Thank you, Rick.
Hi, Rick. How you doing?
Sight for sore eyes.
Doing well. Good evening, everybody. Rick Gordon, Department of Transportation. Alderman, the problem was sort of twofold in that the bags were affecting the solar panels and the service provider changed last year. So there was a problem with the service to the meters. In addition to that, the meters are getting old. It's old technology. We are currently replacing a lot of the single space meters with multi-space meters now to try and catch up. But the single space meters they're probably at the end of their useful life, and a lot of them need to be replaced. Now, in some cases where we are putting in the multi-space meters, we use the working meters to replace some of the broken ones at this time. But over time, we want to replace them all. I would like to do
the thing with the bags. I mean, that really doesn't affect what we're doing after all.
It did affect some. The bags did impede the solar panel from getting the light it needed last year. So it affected some, but it was not the only problem.
$15,000 worth?
Depending on how many meters. I don't know how many meters, but if that's the cost that they're giving us, yes.
I mean, I've heard from my constituents, this seems like such a simple situation.
It is.
It's been so complicated. What about folks that are 60 or over that don't have cell phones, that don't know how to put an app on their phone? They don't know how to contact.
If they have a phone, they can call the number. Just dial the number.
Well, they're supposed to wait till they go home and dial the number?
You can dial the number right at the meter. From wherever you are, you can dial SP Plus's number.
A lot of folks don't have phones.
Well, my research tells me that about 80% of people now have phones, and 60% of them have smartphones. So that's
about the other 20%. That's a substantial number. And actually, a lot of the folks who go shopping downtown are, well, not as young as they would like to be, I'm quite sure. And I mean, I just see that this has been so overcomplicated when all we have to do is say, there's free 2-hour parking and we're going to walk around and, if we have to chalk a tire here and there, that's the way we'll enforce it. Whatever. Other than that, it's all free. I mean, we don't have to do any of these things as far as I'm concerned. I talked to the guy who sold the city the bags in years past, and he said, yeah, I've got non-opaque bags. If the solar cell is the problem.
That was only part of the problem. It wasn't the total problem. It's a combination of things.
Well, there's been an awful lot of bad feeling that this is generated, and I think it's for no reason. It's a very simple thing. Yeah, you get 3 hours of free parking, period. And I just don't get it. That's all. I used it myself. I used to work downtown, and I'm well aware of the parking issues from that and from being on this council. And I just, I think we're really jumping through hoops that we don't need to jump through. Thank you.
Alderman Gaze next, then Alderman Savage, then Alderman Tierney.
I'm actually happy that you guys are stepping into the 21st century and providing us the opportunity to do, tasks like this from our phones. I guess my bigger concern, I just know you said this isn't the time to do this, so I'll be quick. So if there are $15,000 in repairs from broken meters that are at the end of their life that we don't think we'll use again, that we're replacing with the multi-space meters, can we just, that's not a cost if we don't repair them, correct? So can we just skip over that repair process and save ourselves the $15,000?
We aren't really repairing them at this point. We're replacing them with the multi-space meters where we can, and we're using the Park Mobile app as a replacement.
Can we make it so that you never repair them so that you just don't have to pay that $15,000?
That would be the direction we want to go in. In the interim, though, as we take some out and they're still working, we will put those in place of those that are broken.
Sorry, I'm sorry. How many more of those would you think is it the project halfway done, or?
No.
Okay.
Alderman Savage.
Thank you. So the number will be listed on the sign somewhere?
Yes.
Right at the meter? And
I think some of the merchants will also have a card with the information.
Okay. I've heard some concern from my colleagues that employees use these spots and are abusing the free parking. Are we doing anything to enforce business employees those spots instead of the customers for the...
It's difficult to determine who that is when they're on the meter. Obviously they do. Yes, that has happened in the past, but there's no way to know if it's an employee or if it's a shopper. We would hope we could get some help from the merchants in that area.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Alderman Tierney?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor? I don't know who this question would be asked to. Can we have a work session where we just talk about transportation, parking, have SP Plus maybe here again? Well, I'm just saying, can we get it on the schedule, though, so that we can have those represented?
It's on the schedule this Thursday.
Will SP Plus be here?
I don't think SP Plus will be here Wednesday. I'll be here Wednesday for the work session, but I'll be here for public transit.
Oh, okay.
Thursday?
Yes, Thursday.
17th? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thursday it is.
Yeah. Gavin?
Okay, thank you, Rick.
Thursday, okay.
Rick, thank
Gavin,
you very much.
may I address-
Alderman Tierney?
May I address that? I've been trying to address that. We're in the middle of an RFQ where SP Plus is responding to it, and that RFQ involves parking situations, whatever, as it relates to Hillman, et cetera, et cetera. So SP Plus is not prepared to talk at the next work session. I just want to make it clear that SP Plus will not be there, because anything they say is, would have to be shared with all the other bidders or potential bidders. So I just want to make sure you know that SP Plus isn't going to be there.
Yeah, they better be there, because we need to talk to them. We're not talking about their future plans. We're talking about what they've been doing now. We need to hear from SP Plus. They're doing all kinds of matching policy, and we don't know what they're doing.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Thank you. So we will close out on that. So,
Mr. Mayor.
You don't look like Laura Booth.
Pardon me?
That was the next person on the list?
Oh, you go on the list? Okay, I'll wait.
No worries. You can step up. You're John Wells, right?
No, I'm Godfrey Phelps. I came in, but the list wasn't there, so they told me wait till everybody get up to speed.
No worries. They pulled them up, so please state your name and address.
So if somebody coming up, I'll wait.
Is Laura Booth here? Because I don't have any other speakers. Okay. Thank you. Come on. You go. You're right there. Come on.
My name is Godfrey Phelps, and April the 23rd, I gave this council a letter involving the thievery of our money at the Morris Bloom complex. at 701 Glenwood. You appeared before our committee a couple months later, and I asked you what, if anything, you had done. You said that you had given that task to Beverly Wilburn. And when you did, I told you wasn't nothing going to be done. To date, no financial records have been pulled from the residential council to show the thievery that's going on in the building. There's also the issue of the tyrant of a manager who disrespects everybody in the building and are taking our civil liberties and privileges away. She has taken away the community room to the extent where we are treated like children and can't use the remote control. She has taken away the upper floor, the 8th floor, TV box where you can't look at the TV anymore because she was of the opinion that she wasn't notified by the vice president of the residential council that the TV was being exchanged because it had went up. She has targeted me a few times trying to get my vehicle towed illegally. I had to call the police on her, and a report was made to show that she was indeed targeting me because I called her a professional liar at a meeting at the Zasro Sims building. And this related to her closing down the multiple purpose room. You got your people that's working in Harbor House, like Law Pritchett, I believe that's her name, her and Sandra Chapman, all of the opinion that they can ignore the lease agreement and bylaws. The room was shut down, tight as a snare drum, by Ms. Reddick without due process of law, under the hocus pocus that it created an imminent threat to the safety of those in the building. This issue is not going away. I've been to HUD. I've talked to the financial advisor. And the money that's being sent down is not being used for the benefit of the residents. And since that time, we are still waiting for you, Mr. Mayor, as to whether you're going to have someone pull the financial records to find out where the money is going. Now, can you tell me whether or not you're going to do it, or you just going to allow them to continue to steal?
I don't know that. We have, I've seen you in City Hall, and Hillary can meet with you again. We have a new director coming in. Beverly Wilburn is, I think it's her last day today. So if you would like to reach out to Hillary and get a meeting with the new director, you should take it up with her.
Now, you saying reach out to Hillary? You're talking about your secretary?
And Hillary will get you in touch with the new director.
Well, why did Hillary try to convince me that the Morris Bloom building was not owned by the city of Annapolis? Can you explain that?
It is not owned by the city of Annapolis. Yeah.
Pardon me?
It is not owned by the city of Annapolis.
It's not owned by HUD, so who is it owned by?
By the Housing Authority.
By the Housing Authority. Still, that's a rubber stamp for the city of Annapolis. So both of you connected, both of you was named in the suit. So, I mean, you know, you interchange with each other.
No, we don't.
So, I mean, what's the difference? They're under your authority, are they not, to a certain degree?
No, they are not. No, they are not.
They're not under your authority?
No, they're not.
Okay. So what you saying, reach out to the Housing Authority?
I will get Hillary to call you to get you in touch with the new director, and you can...
To the new director.
You can make the case to her. Thank you. Alderman
Okay,
Pendle-Charles.
and when will she be in? I heard she's supposed to be replacing Beverly Wilburn. What's the date of her
I
enactment?
think today was Beverly's last day, so we will find out. But Alderman Pendle-Charles wants to ask a quick question.
No, I want to make a statement. I want to publicly apologize to Mr. Phelps. He came to us after our public safety meeting last week, and I assured him after the meeting, we talked for a very long time, that I would check up on what he has indicated here today, and I failed to do that. And I apologize to you, Mr. Phelps, and I did that outside, but I want to publicly tell you that I dropped the ball. But I will follow up with the mayor as well as Hillary about the things that you had mentioned last week, also the things that you're mentioning today. Mr. Phelps, we grew up in parole together, so I feel particularly obligated to check into this and make sure he makes the connection with the new Housing Authority Director, and as well as Hillary, who's a Constituent Services Director.
Well, unfortunately, I was working on a document which I want to give all of you, because there will be no plausible deniability on this one. I've been targeted by Ms. Reddick. She's tried to tow my vehicle twice. She done assaulted a lot of people in the building. She operates out of your house or Hacker's house, whatever the case may be. She's a tyrant. She don't have no respect for the elderly. She's taken every privilege we have in the building. It's not the Maryland State Penitentiary. And whether you or Hacker is responsible, I'm looking at it that this is all the characteristic traits of organized crime, because this woman, she's very vindictive. I had to call the police on her twice. And I got documentations how she targeted me because I called her a liar.
Okay.
Sergeant Chapman, let me finish. Sergeant
You've
Chapman
had 5
and
minutes now.
Beverly
I'm going to have to
Wilburn.
ask you to step down, please. Thank you. Alderman Gay would like to say something?
Yeah, I would actually. I'm actually concerned to hear this. This is now the second time that he's come forward and has expressed his opinion or what he thinks is taking place. I'm not.
We have no purview.
Well, I think just to tell him that he should go talk to the ombudsman.
I'm trying to put him in touch with the next, with the city person, person that handles constituent services, to put him in touch with the new
Agreed, and I think
director.
that we should, get on top of it just in case. I mean, money is not nothing to be playing with, especially within that organization. Just think that we should take it serious. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
Yes,
Mr.
Mayor,
Phelps. Thank
also,
you.
I know Mr. Phelps had indicated that he was here back in April with a letter. I was not at that meeting, but I asked him to provide me with a copy of the letter. We'll get that straight, Mr. Phelps. But
Thank you.
I'm not going to go, and I think we've had somewhat of this conversation before. I don't want to be accusing people of things that we have no proof of. And we've gone down that road before, and I think that's a terrible road to go down. But we certainly can take a look at it, Alderman Gay, and I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Laura Booth is next up. Please come forward.
Hi. My name is Laura Booth. I live at 81 Wind Whisper Lane in Ward 7. And I am a parent of a student here at Indianapolis at Monarch Academy. I'm here to speak to you about the new development that has been approved by the city at 2010 West Street, which is supposed to have 2 entrances onto Capitol Drive, which is the main route in and out of the school. The development is 42 residential units, the bulk of which has been designated as workforce housing, so we needed that desperately, and I'm very much in favor of that. I understand that the plans for this development date back, that they've been working on this for some 10 years now. Excuse me. But Monarch Academy has been in this current location for 4. And I am flabbergasted and, to be quite honest, somewhat appalled that the city approved the permits for the construction of this new development without getting in touch with Monarch to determine what the impact of this new development was going to be on the school and the student body there. As my kids would say, spoiler alert, it's really bad. It's going to create a traffic nightmare for the city, and it's going to present some pretty significant safety risks for the students who attend this school. Monarch occupies the old Capitol Gazette building, and Capitol Drive is the main route in and now serves as a one-way bus loop around the school. Currently, the only building accessible from Capitol Drive is Monarch Academy. When the school moved in, they converted it into a one-way street, so it functions as a bus loop, around the school and then back out to Gibraltar Avenue. I'm sure you're familiar with how bus loops work for our schools. The bus loop and some of our newer schools actually have separate bus and car loops, which takes traffic into a school off our very busy city streets, gives them some place to wait, to pick up or drop off students. And it also protects our students from busy through traffic. This plan will cut through Capitol Drive in 2 places to allow access to this U-shaped community. Right away, you're going to have to convert Capitol Drive back into 2-way traffic in order to allow entrance and exit from this community. Currently, when cars come into the school, there are 3 lanes coming into the school, 2 lanes that are used by cars to line up, and 1 lane that is used by buses. By removing, essentially, one of those lanes, the cars that normally queue up in that location are now going to sit out on Gibraltar, and they're going to back up to West Street. Now, I know a traffic study was done in January of 2018, right after Monarch opened. At that time, enrollment to Monarch was only about 550 students. This year, we have 690 students. They arrive every day in 13 school buses and about 250 cars. There are no walkers. Next year, when the library moves out, enrollment is going to go up to 805 students. That's about 15 buses, give or take, and about 300 cars. That's a lot of cars. And they're going to sit out on West Street. Because when the traffic study was done, they looked at the window between 7 and 9. At that time, school started at 9:30. So the cars didn't really start queuing up until 9 a.m. School now starts at 8:30, which means that cars line up in front of that building starting before 8 a.m. You're going to have 300 cars sitting on West Street at 8 a.m. and again at 3 p.m. when the school dismisses. I know there's talk of putting a traffic light in there. That traffic light is going to make it worse because traffic lights aren't going to make that school traffic move any faster. All you're going to do is get gridlock in that location. Traffic is a mess, but even worse than that is the threat to the safety of the students at the school. Capitol Drive separates the school from the playground, the basketball courts, the soccer field, and the outdoor classroom. Students travel back and forth across Capitol Drive all day long. You need 1 kid who is racing inside from the playground to get to the bathroom and 1 car coming out of that community and not paying attention. 1. You don't want that on your conscience. Is that my time?
Alderman Pindell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Booth, there's a very, very long history to this saga.
I know.
I've been working on this for a good 3.5 years. I'll start off with the first thing. Our community was totally against the school going back there, not against the school itself.
I agree, there are other great locations for it.
But the school going back there, we did everything in our power, whether it was petitions, whether it's, and I work for the school system, So I was in a bit of a conundrum, but I was front and center in saying that the school should not go there. I work every day for the past 7.5 years in an 800 school building, 100 staff, so I know exactly what goes on and what comes and goes in a school on any given day. Based on my knowledge of that, I knew a school should not go back there. However, the decision was made to put the school back there. We've had quite a few issues regarding traffic and all of that. We also have had some issues concerning property ownership because Gibraltar was not owned by the city. It was owned by the property owners that on each side of that roadway. We had to go through the air system to try to find out who it was. That was all going on. Now, what I will say is I did get an email about a week and a half ago from a parent. First name was Sarah, but she didn't leave me her last name.
She's in the audience this evening.
Okay. I figured it was failing, but I didn't want to take that chance. Anyway, I sent her a whole history of what has been going on. I've been in touch with Kathy Lane in the Children's Guild, who used to work for the school system. I sent a lengthy email to her, as well as the mayor, as well as the city manager, as well as the chief of staff. I did also send that email over to the school system, as well as Ms. Lane from the Children's Guild. I did see a letter that went out from the Children's Guild to the parents about a PTA meeting from last week. The letter had no signature and no date on it. So I responded to that as best I could. I think I gave her about 15 reasons why we were against the school going there. Not against the school itself, but against the school being in that location. We've done everything we possibly can to try to mitigate it. I understand what you're talking about, the traffic. The other thing is we've been trying in this city to get a traffic signal at that location. Let me finish. For almost 20 years. We have an accident on that roadway in Upper West Street, at least one a day. Some reported, some unreported. We've had at least 6 fatalities over the past 5 years.
I believe it.
It's a nightmare.
It is.
To say the least. These are all the reasons. We had letters in the paper, we signed petitions, we did everything we possibly could not for that school to go back there.
But it's been there for 4 years.
So I think this is the 3rd year.
Yes, but they've been operating in that location. It was a year worth of construction before they
Exactly.
did. So my question is, what are you doing about the safety of the students who are there now? I'm not going to argue with you that the school could have gone someplace else. It certainly could have. But this situation is a disaster.
Have you talked with the school system?
I have. And they basically said that the county issued the permit, so it's kind of on all of your shoulders.
Well, it's their property and their school. I understand what you're saying.
It's not their property.
Well, it's not their property, but it's their school. And it's my school because, like I said, I work for the school system too.
My question is, why isn't a property that is on, I mean, if a school is in a location, to me, it seems like it's sort of, the obligation falls to the city to do what is best for that school and for that area. And clearly this plan is not that.
And that's what we tried to do.
So I'm asking you tonight to try to find some other entrance and exit from Capitol Drive, or other than Capitol Drive, for this community.
Well, and we will be working on those things, absolutely. And we understand that safety is the most important thing here. Alderman Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you. And so Ms. Booth is the Ward 7 representative to the to the Education Commission. So she did also contact me. So I did send an email to staff, just asking, and the city manager asking just for information. I don't want to jump to conclusions yet, but I am concerned. I just want to see if the city has checked on these things. We do have traffic studies for a reason. I'd like to know if they follow the proper procedures. If they did look at this using adequate information, if they didn't, what are our options? Because, yes, it's school property, but we approved the permit and the traffic plan and the roads. So I think it is on our shoulders. Well, from my understanding is the principal was not engaged in this whole process at all. That's what I'm hearing. And that's what I think the principal has told Ms. Booth. So
I did send that email to the principal last week.
Still before, Alderman. Thank you. Right. So anyway, Mr. Mayor, thank you you said you're going to look into this a little more too?
We will.
I will forward you my email too. I didn't copy you, but thank you.
Oh, Gavin, thank you.
Alderman Finlayson's next.
Yes.
And Alderman Tierney,
Thank you, Ms. Booth. You have painted the picture very clearly as to what the problem is. I guess my question is for our city manager. If there's an opportunity for the planning department to meet with the Board of Ed's planning department to try to come up with an alternative. I don't know where we are in the process and whether it's too late or I don't know. But we're always talking about collaboration. I think there needs to be some collaboration.
Okay, so we can certainly look into that. First, I want to find out what was done, what traffic study was done. I believe the traffic signal is going to be something other than a four-way traditional traffic signal, so that will change traffic patterns, if I recall that correctly. And so I first I want to find out what was done. I want to find out who was notified. I want to find out what input there was, because until I know what we did do, I'm not sure what we need to do. But we can certainly reach out to the Board of Education or the AACPS staff.
This kind of seems like an anomaly because traditionally the school system isn't brought in when we're looking at our adequate facilities.
Well, and traditionally the school system doesn't put a school in an industrial, I don't know if that's zoned industrial, but that kind of they're not putting it in an industrial commercial building.
Yeah, but they went through a different a process last year when, there were a lot of factors that played into the need for a school.
Oh, I understand that, but that's what makes this a unique situation. Yeah. And the fact that this is is it a charter school or a contract school?
It's a contract
school. The fact that this is a contract school and you don't have your traditional busing, you don't have children picked up in neighborhoods arriving in school buses, you've got hundreds of students being dropped off by parents, which is a unique situation.
Well, and you understand, and I don't need to go into the history on why this was necessary in the city. But my question, and I guess my wish for you, is to be able to bring school board folks in with our roads people and our planning department to see if we can address this pending problem before it gets.
And the concern from the parents is that construction is supposed to start in November. So there was no time for parents to respond to this or to find out more about it. And there was certainly no time for the school to, address these concerns. The other thing I didn't have time to get to, but I'm going to shove it in here real quickly, is that when the school has a fire drill, because of the way the building's laid out, basically, the kids on the upper level exit out toward the front, and the kids on the lower level exit out towards the back. The kids that exit out to the back cross Capitol Drive, and they gather back on the playground, or the soccer field, so that the teachers can take attendance and make sure that all the kids are accounted for. Kids that exit from the front of the building cross the parking lot and Capitol Drive, and there's currently a large grassy area in front of the school where this development is going to be. But that's where the kids gather and the teachers take attendance and make sure that they've got everybody. So if this development is built and there's a fire in that building, in order for these kids to get safe far enough away from the building to be safe, they're going to be standing in the middle of Capitol Drive, directly in the path of any incoming emergency vehicles. I mean, there's no... I'm flabbergasted and appalled that there was no consideration for what happens in case of emergency. Where do these kids go? Right now, there's a grassy area. They can cross the field. They can cross Capitol Drive. They can stand there. They're out of the way. They're safe. I'm a parent. I've got a kid at that school. I want to know that my kid is safe at that school if a fire happens, if there's a fire in the building.
Ms. Booth, and this comes from my 35 years with the school system. They will adjust those.
But where?
But that's the school system's responsibility.
I understand that, but I'm concerned that this parcel's so large and the development is literally on top of the school.
I am convinced that they will.
I hope so.
Take care of
The
it.
plans that I looked
convinced of
at,
that, so,
the plans the city approved really made me nervous. So, thank you.
I said Alderman Savage was next, and Alderman
Just
Del
quick,
Charles.
so it sounds like if it's going to start in November, we may want to hit the brakes at least until we figure this out. But also construction traffic should be looked at. Where are they going to be accessing the site? A lot of big trucks. I don't know, what's the name of the development?
Town Courts.
Town Courts, yeah.
I'm just looking up at the status.
I have it, got site design approval.
I'm sorry.
Parents were told that construction during the construction access to the site would occur on Capitol Drive in one location, and that they would not have access during morning pickup or afternoon drop-off. We were told there was a second access point that would be used during construction that would not be on Capitol Drive, basically so that vehicles can get off and on the site when they can't use Capitol Drive because of the bus and car traffic. So the question that all the parents had is, why can't that be the permanent access point? I mean, I totally understand the city not wanting to dump cars from a residential development out onto West Street. I'm sure this seemed like a reasonable plan 10 years ago when they first started talking about this, or when the Capitol building was empty. But you've robbed Peter to pay Paul. I mean, you've taken a small problem, traffic from 42 residential units, and you've multiplied it by about 1,000. I'm sure that there's a better way. There's got to be a better way.
So we're going to wrap it up with just some quick answers here. Alderman Pendel Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Booth, one of the responsibilities that I had in my school was initially to find an evacuation plan. Every school is supposed to have an evacuation plan for 800 students, 100 staff, and on any given day you might have 1,000 people in the building. It took me about 4 months to find one location that could house up to 1,000 people. I asked that very question, not necessarily just a staging area, but where there would be a staging area where parents could pick up students. I tried, we looked all around. I don't know what the final answer was because I never was given one, but I don't know, because part of the problem was getting out of that location. We're nestled between Baltimore and Washington. We don't know what may occur. God knows we don't want anything to occur. But I never got a clear answer as to even what the staging area would be if there was an evacuation where you could put 1,000 people.
Right. But I mean, fire drills, they run fire drills once a month.
But I'm talking about even beyond fire drills.
Right, but I'm just saying, even during a fire drill, I don't know where you put the kids except in Capitol Drive, right in the path of anybody coming and going from that community. The way that site is laid out, on the sides of the school, you've got a sheer, kind of a steep drop off on the one side that's heavily wooded, and then on the other side you have a steep incline up to the backs of the businesses that are out on Gibraltar. So there's nowhere on the sides of the building for the kids to go.
But you might want to ask the school system that question. Yeah. Where is the staging area? Where's the evacuation?
Right now, I know where it is. Right now, the staging area is the grassy area where this community is going. That's where the staging area is, because I've been in that school and I've gone on fire drills with my kid when I've been volunteering in the classroom.
But oftentimes, what I'm talking about, if is something even more, something bigger, where they have to leave that area. Right. That's what I'm talking about. My school, we have to go about a half a mile to get to where we need to go, and that's my concern. That's always been my concern.
That I can't answer you.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Gage, next.
So, if you look at this Google image of it, potentially, I don't know if you could take this to the principal. You said you sit on the committee or something like that.
Yes, the Annapolis Education Committee.
They can loop around Capitol Drive and it'll swing right out back onto Gibraltar without really ruining any of the current plan that's laid out. I'm not sure if that's something that can be taken to the school system or to...
I'm sorry, what...
If you come in on Capitol Drive, you can go all the way around the entire school.
That is the current traffic loop around the school. and it is only used by school-related traffic.
But there's no exit on the other side, is what I'm saying.
No,
Just a
right
potential
now,
idea.
what you've got is a loop off a loop. So there's Capitol Drive, which forms a loop. This new community is sort of like a U shape that will just go off Capitol Drive. So the only entrance and exit from this community is to go on Capitol Drive in the school community.
So I think we can't engineer this here. This is not the forum.
Right.
So Laura, I promise you, Teresa, once we get the information, we know where we're heading. That we will reach out to you and we'll make sure that the school system is included in the process.
And please be
quick. And safety is our number one concern, and I appreciate you being here.
Because I told my husband I don't want to have to go out and lay in front of a bulldozer, and I'd really appreciate it if I didn't have to do that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate all of your attention to this issue.
Thank you very much. Now, I don't know, Jess Packler is on here. I think it's Jess Packler. There's no other Jesses in the house, are there? Oh, sorry. Come forward, please. Oh. Are you standing in for Jess? No?
My name is Judy Jones, and I live at 10 Fleet Street in downtown Annapolis. Compared to these other folks, this is beginning to sound not terribly important, but I will mention it anyway. A lot of you know what this legislation, Ordinance 2619, has gone through in the last 6-7 months. And then recently, at a Rules Committee, we had to postpone the testimony because the amendments hadn't appeared to this ordinance. And then even tonight, we've had to postpone the official testimony because the amendments have not occurred. I spoke to Alderman Arnett this afternoon regarding this ordinance, and hopefully we will get the amendments soon, and hopefully we will be able to have a meeting about this. I just am briefly going to say some things about the ordinance. I'm in favor of the ordinance. I do wish that there were, or there will be 120 days. I do wish or hope for that there's going to be a resident, primary resident running STVR. Thank you. I also want to talk about my street, because it is my street, Fleet Street. I also want to talk about Cornhill, Prince George, Duke of Gloucester, but don't panic, I'm not going to talk about each one of them. The ordinance, we have to consider the street I live on, and there are so many streets like it. It is zoned as C1A. I've mentioned this over and over again. We are an at-risk neighborhood, and I can give you some examples right now of how our neighborhood is at risk. We have a park downtown that the city bought, and matter of fact, there is a gravestone there for Senator Astel's son, or a monument for Senator Astel's son, who died in an automobile crash. It was a park that was a travesty when it was a park. We had intoxicated people, shall I say, sleeping in the park. We actually had people in sleeping bags sleeping in the park. And then the city gave us that park, and we sort of took it over and made it into a lovely place. However, that is changing because, not just because of short-term rentals, I don't want to give you that impression, but we've had incidents lately of, I'm going to use the term sexual paraphernalia found in the park. We have had a dear homeless lady's luggage found in the park. One of my neighbors said that people are smoking weed in the park. And the reason is because there are there's nobody across from that. houses are up for sale, and they are going to short-term rentals. I am asking, this is more than the ordinance says, I am asking that C1A and C1 be short-term rentals should not appear. Now, granted, they are, they're wonderful. There's a lady right 2 doors from me. She has a short-term rental. She's careful. Her place looks immaculate. However, she advertises on the web 6 guests, 1 bedroom. That's scary to me, very scary to me. Right next door to me right now, we have people who smoke outside, and I'm not advising giving up smoking, that's not what I'm saying, but they smoke outside and they leave their cigarettes there. We have a CBD store who, even though he's zoned for it, it is an affront to our neighborhood because children live in this neighborhood. Not many at all, but they do live in this neighborhood. And what do they think when they come home from school, seeing people out there? I know these are minor points, but they're big points to me. I see a neighborhood just collapsing. Aaron mentioned this business about, people don't know each other. I know maybe 5 people on my street. That's all I'm going to say. Listen, thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. Ellie has a question for you. Alderman Tierney.
No, it's not a question. I just want to speak as Judy's neighbor, as Alderwoman of Ward 1. I have to say, and I want my colleagues to hear this, that what she speaks of as far as the loss of these neighbors and residents in our community is a result of not having legislation enacted 2 years ago for whatever reasons. For whatever reasons, and all I'm saying is that is why this time it matters. Because what we've lost is irreplaceable. And I'm on the verge of, I know I am recused, but I'm speaking as the Alderwoman of Ward 1. They are my constituents, and they are going to move. So I want my colleagues to hear me. I cannot represent them. And I'm risking ethics now saying something, but you're not listening. And I want you to listen to them. We have lost a neighborhood. That's pretty important. So you have to listen to them. That's all I can say.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward and speak? Please come forward. State your name and address.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah Campbell Phelan. I'm here to talk about Monarch Annapolis issue. I don't want to belabor it again, but I would like to stress a few things that Laura did not address. So I would urge you to suspend construction, or at least try to temporarily stall it, since it's apparently already going through, so we can work on a plan not only for the current traffic, but also a safety plan for the construction. I attended a PTA meeting held, I want to say last week, between Monarch Annapolis, Pearl Construction, who owns the new development project, as well as the current landowner of the property where Monarch Annapolis is on. It concerned me that Pearl Construction had almost no answers to any of our questions. Those questions included what would be done in terms of mitigating concerns from construction safety. So if you go out to this site, you will be appalled at how close this housing development is to the school. It is literally but steps off the curb. There is no standoff. And so their plan is to put construction vehicles so close to the school, and there is no plan to have a traffic safety officer there. There is no plan that during construction they can guarantee where these workers will be going. There is no plan that the subcontractor who's doing the construction can guarantee that any of these workers will not be on the sex offender registry, that any of these workers will not be wandering off. And so I'm urging the city to, at least if this construction goes forward, to pressure Pearl or to co-fund an off-duty or an on-duty officer to be there to make sure that somebody's not wandering over where there's kids everywhere. Ms. Charles has some very good points as to why she was opposed to why the school is there, and I don't disagree with them, but the school is there now, right? So we have to deal with the reality of the situation. And I could not believe the traffic pattern is going to have residents, 42 housing units. You cannot guarantee how many people will actually be living in there, where they're going to attempt to park, and their only way of getting in and out is around that school property. Okay, so right now you have parents who go in slowly, who park at the lots. You're going to have people blazing in and out of there. And the school doesn't have a plan because it has a new principal, right? And the school looked at the construction company so nobody has an answer. So right now you're seriously putting a large number of city school kids, because a lot of these kids come from all over the city. They come from outside the city, but a lot of them come from in the city. You're putting their lives in danger without a plan. So that's all I'll say again. Thank you very much.
Alderwoman Pindell.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Sarah, was Mr. Shaw at the meeting?
Mr. Shaw was at the meeting.
What did he have to say?
He did not have much to say.
I'm not surprised.
And you may be right. It may be a trifecta that Mr. Shaw doesn't have a plan and Pearl doesn't have a plan. Pearl could not guarantee us that they're going to do background checks of the contractors working on the site. And I can tell you from experience and knowledge in this domain that those people that work on sites near schools tend to target kids. They tend to start looking at patterns. It just happens. I want to understand what the fence is going to be between the curb and the school. Is there going to be a fence there during construction and after construction? I have broader concerns about the residents that will occupy those housing units after. I understand what its intent is, but I do look at a history of how sometimes the good intentions of housing developments like that, what they turn into. Pearl does not have any guarantee that they're going to ensure, that you're getting nurses and teachers and police and firefighters in those buildings. And next thing I know, is my kid going to come out of that school and get hit by a bullet? I hate to be, exaggerate, but it's a reality here. So I just think the location is far too close to the school.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else like to come forward and speak for 5 minutes?
Go ahead. No, I'm ready to go. I'll go for 1 minute. Chris Bukeister, 5 Wagner Street. Thanks for taking my testimony. It's interesting you just talk about zoning. Zoning, what's it all about, right? You just see how a school gets plopped down in an industrial area. Well, guess what? Zoning. They put little mini hotels down in Ward 1 and C1A and C1. So what I'm here to say is that non-owner occupied STVRs are commercial businesses and they should not be permitted in the C1A. Second, let me debunk a myth, okay? I'm a retired naval officer. And my family, I raised my family as a Navy family around this whole country. We moved 8 times. I see letters appearing in the Capitol that complain about having to move and come back to Annapolis and do this and that. Well, guess what? It's a fact of military life that you're going to pick up your stuff and move. We moved 8 times. We bought, we sold, we rented, we lived on base. Okay, we did everything. And we had a house in Annapolis. And we left and we rented it out as a long-term rental and we came back to it. And this is where we dropped the hook. Thank you.
Good evening, neighbors, friends, and council people who serve us so generously with your time and don't get paid very well. Thank you for all of that. And I wanted to say that after the contentious introduction to the meeting with the riots outside, walking in here and storming up the place, I think you should just let that Republic of Eastport just splinter off and form a 9-member government of its own, see if they can rally up 9 people to govern themselves. Well, I also wanted to thank the city for being a good host to a couple of good parties that I attended recently. The first one was the Kunta Kinte Festival, and I had a great time there. And I think we should do more of that. And then I was at the Market House last Thursday night. They had a great party, I'm a member of the city and I'm a part host. So, and I was a guest. So I was a guest at my own party that you all organized somehow, or like at least allowed to happen. So I just wanted to encourage that I like getting together and finding common ground and like the mutuality with the other people that like to go out and drink and watch a Jimmy Buffett cover band and just have fun. So, and I thank the citizens of Ward 1 for allowing these parties to happen in their ward, where they're hosts to all the members of the city and all around. So I'd like the city to welcome more people in every way possible and be affordable for people to come and visit. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm William Small, 702 Melrose Street, Annapolis, Maryland.
Anybody else like to come forward and speak?
Hello. I'm Corey Bonney. I didn't plan on speaking. I took a few notes, Ross, because I didn't want it to be a disaster. So my wife and I own both short-term and long-term rentals. The short-term rental is a bed and breakfast. We are the hosts of guests that come in from out of town. We are excited to meet these guests. I'm speaking toward actually 02619, 02619, and we're against it 100%. We're for it 100%. We are support. We're in support. Sorry. See, I told you. We're in support of it. We are 100% in support of this. And for so many reasons. And not because we have a bed and breakfast, but because we are an owner-occupied host. Owner-occupied is the key to the success of visitors from out of town. Will was saying, hey, let's have lots of people from out of town. Let's have lots of parties. Let's get the place moving. We're all for that. But we're for that when the guests that are coming in on a short-term basis are supervised. Otherwise, many times you have an empty house that someone rents for who knows how many people. No one is there to greet them. No one is there as they drag their coolers of beer and wine and vodka in. And the people who are supervising it are the next door neighbor and the person across the street, who are, if this goes on until 11 and 12 o'clock, the ones who pick up the phone and call the police and say, we have a disturbance in the neighborhood. I have done that. I have done that in my neighborhood to STVRs that get out of hand. I'm the one calling the police, not the guy or the woman who owns the property, but the neighbor, because the owner isn't there. So it's not a problem with STRVs, it's a problem of unsupervised, unoccupied, non-resident STRVs is the problem. We have long-term rentals, 2 of them. We have people in for 2 years at a time. They get active in the community. They're going to church in the community. They go to the Civic Association picnic. They walk their dogs. They go to the park with their children. These are the types of rentals and renters that we want to see in our neighborhood, people who get involved in the community, and they're not there for a weekend to party, make noise, make trouble, unsupervised, that's the key, and then leave on Sunday, leaving a ton of trash outside their house. The people who don't live here then let the trash sit there because there's no one to take it to the curb. Or they take it to the curb and then the trash cans sit on the front porch of the front door of the houses that are our beautiful homes, and you walk around the neighborhood and you see trash cans sitting on the front porch because the people don't live here, they don't care about it. There are 300 STVRs in Center City, Annapolis. Not all of them are unsupervised. The unsupervised ones, as the woman from Fleet Street said, she has a neighbor and she keeps her house very nice. Great, that's what we want, a supervised short-term rental. And in Eastport, we have 400 STRVs, and the number in both places are growing. My wife and I just walked home from church yesterday. So during the boat show, I have a picture of this. There is a house across from St. Mary's Church. There were 14 cars parked in the front yard. I have the picture. A lot of those people were staying, it's like an apartment building or something, and a lot of those people were staying there. Maybe someone staying there thought, I'll sell a few spots to someone at the boat show and an extra couple of cars, but there were 14 cars on the curb, in the front yard, on the sidewalk. This is not Annapolis. This isn't the historic place that I live. And I will share that picture with the alder people. Mayor, you and I had a conversation in your office about the fact that, well, first of all, of these 700 STVRs that I said, approximately, well, less than 200 of them are licensed and paying taxes. Licensed and paying for a licensing fee. Licensed and being inspected for safety issues. My house is inspected once a year for the long-term rentals and twice a year for the short-term. And I have licenses for all of them. Safety is a factor, and you said it yourself as I was walking in here, that safety is our #1 concern. Let's put that to work on the STRVs as well.
Thank you, Corey.
So back to my point, we have a license. All of these places are not licensed, yet they are competing against my short-term rental, and I make a living at it. It's not a hobby for me. It's not extra beer money. It's not, this will help me put my kid through college. This is my living for my family. This is how I pay the bills. This is how I pay the mortgage. This is how I buy life insurance and so forth. So I said to you, what if you had food trucks parked along West Street in front of your restaurants? They too are not inspected by the health department. I don't know if you know that or not. It's not required. So, and they are not licensed the way you are. They do the way your restaurants are. They do not have the overhead that you have in terms of utilities and labor. So this is another unfair practice that's going on in the city. I don't think you would appreciate 4 food trucks in front of Tsunamis. You know, one of them even probably selling Japanese food. You would be up at arms about this.
Corey, so we're at 6 minutes. Absolutely, we support you. We are working on the legislation now. I support the legislation. Let's move forward with it.
You.
So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Anyone else like to come forward and speak? Seeing no motion in the chamber, I declare comments by the general public closed. Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar include approval of journals of proceedings starting with CCM 090919 regular meeting minutes, CCM 091919 special meeting minutes, CCM 092319S special meeting minutes, CCM 092319 special meeting minutes. Next on the consent calendar are the legislative actions, first readers, O3619, parking meters, R4419 transit development plan, and R4519 military bowl parade and football game. That's the end of the consent calendar.
Is there any objections to items on the... Okay, move approval.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd just like to request that R4419 be referred to the Transportation Board.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Whenever,
Do we have a second on Ross's?
whenever it comes into existence. Come on, second.
Need a second?
Yeah, second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Yes.
Alderman Arnett?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tierney? Yes. Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderman Kendall Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson? Aye. Alderman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
I'd like to change my vote to aye.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Oh, the next item on the agenda.
You like
All
this
right. Under the city code, when the city council substantively amends an ordinance, final action has to be postponed for a second public hearing. So please take that into consideration. The next batch of legislation that you guys are going to be considering, I would advise you that most of that is substantive amendments. What? What are you pointing at?
Could you please repeat that, Alderman Gay?
Okay, I'll ask you. You're good? Okay. So, the next item on the agenda is legislative action on second readers, beginning with Ordinance 01019, the Maryland Public Information Act.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have amendments. Is everyone okay with the amendments?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we adopt amendments 1 through 4.
You get a second? Okay.
I see 1 through 3.
Should I speak to them? They're the Rules Committee
I think no,
amendments.
unless you want to.
Oh, if not necessary, then that's fine.
Oh, so you're going to do all, okay.
Okay, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to adopt O-10-19 as amended on second reader?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to vote on whether the amendments O-10-19 are substantive?
She read it already.
All right. Is there a motion to adopt O-10-19 on third reader?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Yes.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderwoman Kendall Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
The City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution R3219, Maryland Public Information Act fees.
Is there a motion to adopt R-32-19 on second reader?
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Yes.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderwoman Kendall Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Motion passes. Ms. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution R4119, Itinerant Merchant Sales in the Historic District.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? It's the Tierney Amendment. Would you like to speak to that, Ellie?
Oh, yes, please. The Tierney Amendment was just basically a word that was added that was incorrect. So it was basically a wordsmith.
Move the amendment.
So, move
Second.
it.
He moved it.
Do we have a second? Ross is going to move your amendment, and there's a second. I'm sure it's you.
Second.
Yep, okay. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is there a motion to vote on whether the amendment R-41-19 are substantive? Is there a motion to adopt R-41-19 as amended on second reader?
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Yes.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderman Kendall Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Okay, go watch football, Felicia.
The City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Okay, the next item on the agenda are second readers pursuant to City Code Section 21690, reading amendment and passage of ordinances, etc. 180 days after the first reading, beginning with Ordinance 01819, the Department of the Environment.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Savage.
I'd just like to move to postpone for 60 days.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna, don't support it, so I'm a no. Any?
Can we have some clarity on that, please? You said 60 days. We only have one meeting in November. So are you referring to
December meeting?
9th?
December.
Yeah.
December.
Thank you.
Sorry?
It's going to be a long meeting.
We only have one meeting in December?
It's still.
But
One in November, one in
Yeah, we already. Sorry, I think we already voted on it. But there'll be the next one can have discussion. I said all in favor. Yeah. I was opposed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda are second readers pursuant to City Code Section 21690, reading amendment and passage of ordinances, etc., the 90 days after first reading, beginning with Charter Amendment CA 619, Department of the Environment.
Is there a motion?
I'd like to postpone it until the December meeting.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? Alderman Turney?
Discussion? Yeah, may I have discussion? I just want to speak on, what's that? I'm sorry?
Did you read the script?
Oh, no, I don't have a script. I just want to say on this ordinance and the associated charter that I am upset that this is either a vote on whether you support the environment or if you're on one side or the other. There's a lot of back chatter in this, and I don't like that to be a reason for my vote. I've read every page of the 200-plus page ordinance. I've read all the planning committee reports and the charter amendments. Well, they're hand in hand. And the charter amendment is just as important. I just want to say that this is a very important thing to have a charter amendment. And I have the feeling that we don't all realize what it's doing to all of our respective departments. And that's what bothers me the most about this, that it's not, doesn't seem to be embraced, for lack of a better word, with planning and zoning and DPW. And going into something like that is not a positive thing. And I just would like a timeout, if you will, to look at the solution that we're proposing addressing the problem as far as adding a stormwater engineer and give the operational flow that David Jarrell presented at Environmental Matters an opportunity. This charter amendment is a big lift to just feel good about the environment, and I think that we need to put it aside until the objective that I hear outside these rooms is cross-reference to how this charter amendment and the associated ordinance is going to fix it. And I don't see that. And I think we've spent a lot of money for staff to appear at committee meetings and continued committee meetings, that this has become very controversial when we can all go into a room and talk about what is the problem, let's fix it, and how we think that this charter amendment, adding positions that I see some of the people don't even want to have or give up, is going to solve the problem. And so I just think that we should give it a timeout, and that's why my vote for the charter amendment is no. I just wanted to explain that.
We're voting for the timeout.
No, a timeout timeout is a different than a postponement.
Okay, Alderman Savage is next. Thank you.
Yeah, just thank colleagues for postponing the ordinance. And I think I can speak for the co-sponsors. Since we've just received the full revised staff report last week we want to take it seriously and review it and look at and consider staff's input and concerns and work that in to see if we can amend this ordinance and charter amendment to reflect that. So I do want to thank you for giving us additional time on the ordinance, and I hope you will do the same for the charter amendment. Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, all those in favour say aye.
Aye. Postpone it?
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, no.
No.
The City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is ordinance O2619, rental unit and short-term residential rental licenses.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Arnett.
I move that we postpone, but I do want to have
December
discussion. Well, I want to have a discussion about when to postpone, because I'd like to get, and I think we're close to getting the amendments, the final set of amendments, which I think can be introduced at the next council meeting. So if we postpone to December 9th, we can't introduce anything until December 9th, which means we won't have any action until sometime next year. So I would like to postpone until the next council meeting, and assuming that we have the amendments, we can introduce those amendments at that council meeting. If it needs to go back to committee or needs to go elsewhere, we can do that. But the ideal thing, I agree with the mayor, we need to get to where we want to be and get it done quickly. I agree with a lot of the testimony that was given tonight. We need to do this. We need to do something. So I would like to postpone at least until the next council meeting, which is October 24th. So that's my motion.
Okay. Do you have a second on that motion?
28th, right. 28th. Well, we can meet on the 24th.
Okay. A second.
So,
you second it? We got to get on the floor, please.
Second.
Okay. Okay. Alderman Pound.
so you want to vote on it in 2 weeks? Is that what you're saying?
We can, if we have
Just
the
get the
amendments, then we can deal with the amendments. If not, we can vote to postpone again. But if we postpone till December 9th, we can't introduce the amendments until December 9th. And given the number of amendments that are already proposed, I will take to heart the city attorney's notion that these are substantive amendments.
Okay.
And that means that even if we voted on December 9th for second reader, if we can get it on and we want to vote on it, that would mean that we would have to have a public hearing in one of the January meetings and then have third reader whenever,
Okay.
January or February.
Just wanted to clarify, I'm a little concerned that sometimes things get backed up and there may be amendments that simply don't get out. That's all.
Well, and if they don't, then we can, and if they don't, I would want to postpone until we get it.
Thank you.
Alderman, would you consider moving just the platform forward first?
Do
Just
what?
taxing the platform first, and then there's a lot of things that are going to be substantive, but I think that the one thing that everyone agrees on either
taxing-
side, they accept that.
That's not in the amendments. I mean, that's not in the ordinance. If you want an amendment in the ordinance to tax the platforms, we'd have to add that.
Excuse me. For clarity purposes, if you are postponing this until the next meeting, it would go on the next agenda as a second reader. Then you would have to amend it. And then you would have the vote to say that the amendments are substantive.
If
And
we're
then on
ready.
the following meeting in November, you could have a public hearing. And then you are also scheduled for a work session on the 21st.
Well, we need to talk about that. But if we're ready to vote for it at the next meeting, if we have the amendments and we're ready to vote on second reader,
Right.
we can do that. If we have the amendments and we're not ready to vote, we can vote to postpone again. But because we have only one meeting in November and one meeting in December, we're very quickly pushing ourselves into next year. And so I really would like to postpone till the next meeting. If, in fact, we're not where we need to be, we always have the option of postponing again.
Twice in November.
No. Pardon?
We meet twice in November.
Nope, we don't.
No, why don't?
Thanksgiving.
So Alderman Finlayson is next, please.
As one of the sponsors on this legislation,
Yeah, the other.
we need to have this discussion because we also have to work in the committee meeting to make sure we're all on the same page. If we postpone it until the 28th, that gives us a 2-week window to not only get the legislation out, the amendments out and agreed upon, and meet with the committee. I think that's kind of a short timeline. I mean, and we're meeting with the county during that same interim period.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, exactly. So we can always postpone it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always have that option of postponing. But if we postpone it to the 9th, we know we're not going to get to this until sometime in January or February for a vote. And we've heard a lot of anxiety from people, actually on both sides of the issue, saying, do something, get it done. So I would rather do it incrementally. If we postpone to the 24th and we get to the 24th and we find we're still not ready, fine, then we postpone again. But it gives us the option of getting things, getting the amendments, getting it before people, getting it before the council. Most of our colleagues on the council don't even know what the amendments are that we're talking about.
Which is why it's on the agenda for the work session.
Yeah. Well,
so that we can help our colleagues understand the implications of this legislation.
Alderman Payon is next.
I can wait till the 28th.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
So we have a motion on the floor and a second for the 28th of November to the postponement. All those in favour?
No, October.
October, I'm sorry. Lost here. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution R3019, rental unit and short-term residential rental licenses fees.
I would move that we postpone both the fees and the fines until we have an ordinance that they would be associated with.
Second.
So they should travel together. Travel together.
Yes, I think all three should travel together.
Okay, so that would be postponed until the 28th also.
Correct. That would be my motion.
Okay. My second travels together.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The agenda is complete.
Whoa.
You didn't do 31.
Before anybody can say anything else,
No, I can put it in that way, but they have
I would move that we adjourn.
Okay, all those in favour of an adjournment say aye.
Aye. I'm sorry.
Anything for good order? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to announce for those who have not heard about the celebration that's coming on the 28th of young Dylan Gilmer, who we are recognizing for his future celebrity status as he leaves his fourth grade class at Germantown to move on to become a star amongst us. So we'll be recognizing him and his colleagues, his classmates here at City Hall. There will be a parade honoring Dylan from Germantown to City Hall on the 28th prior to the council meeting. Please spread the word in the community so folks would come out and cheer young Dylan on. Thank you.
Now, before anybody can say anything else, I'd move to adjourn.
All those in favour say
Actually,
aye.
I think I need... I'm kidding.
Meeting adjourned.